This is the biggest epoxy pour I have ever done in my life, and I have no idea how it's about to go. All right, I've been wanting to do this for a long time, a epoxy river coffee table. This is going to be a super fun build, and I want to make this video in a way that's pretty detailed so that you'll know all of the steps I took in creating this table. So if you want to make your own, and I would really recommend it, you can kind of follow along step by step. Because I'm gonna be going into pretty good detail, I'm gonna break this up into 2 videos. So in this video, I'm gonna show you the process for doing the epoxy pour, everything from preparing the slab to preparing the mold and preparing the epoxy, pouring it in, all that kind of stuff, layouts, all that we're gonna go into in this video. And my heater just turned on. Let's go. The mold we are using for the epoxy pour is 4 foot long. So we need to go ahead and cut this slab to 4 foot in length. There is a certain way that I like to do this, and I actually just remembered I need a pencil, so just a moment please. We are back. So you want to make sure, this is actually super important, that your 2 cuts on this side and on the other side are parallel to one another. Another thing to look at is make sure you don't have any checks. Down here, there's some cracks that have kind of started. You don't need to like totally eliminate them, but I like to always cut them off and make sure I have a nice straight cut. So now that I have this perfectly square cut, what I'm going to do next is get this stuff out of my way. And I'm going to take my chalk line and line it up with a line that is perpendicular to this edge. So I have this, that's a 90-degree angle. Take your chalk line, and run all the way down to the end. And then what you're going to do is mark off 4 feet, because that's the size of our mold. Right there. And then I'm going to line my framing square up with the perpendicular line. And then scribe that line all the way across. So, if I've done all my layout correctly, this line should be exactly perpendicular to this line down here, and we'll have enough left over for a cutting board, so that'll be pretty cool. If any of you have any ideas for how I can use like these pretty small 1 live edge offcuts, let me know. I don't want to waste them. I mean, it's black walnut, but I don't really know what I'll do with them. Let me know in the comments. currently these slabs have a little cup in them, and so we've got to run these through the planer and just take that cup out. Otherwise, when we lay these slabs in the mold, the epoxy is going to seep underneath the slabs. It could cause these slabs to float and be, at the very least, a massive waste of epoxy. So we're gonna go ahead and take the cup out now. I'm gonna keep the planing to a minimal just because we're gonna flatten this after the entire epoxy pour, and I want to preserve as much thickness in these slabs as possible. For this epoxy pour, we are using the Crafted Elements mold. Crafted Elements is sponsoring this video, and I am a huge fan of theirs. Now, I know you're probably thinking, of course, Ben, you're saying that because they're a sponsor. And it's true, they did provide me with this mold, but I would never recommend a product to you that I don't believe in. And I've paid money for Crafted Elements molds before, and they are amazing. You don't have to do any assembly. You can use these molds over and over and over. They are super high quality. I've never had one leak on me. They are amazing. I really can't go on and on enough about them. I'll leave a link to this mold. This is the 24-inch by 48-inch mold. So I'll leave a link to this mold as well as to their website in the video description, so be sure to check that out. Now, as far as the setup that I have, I'm using the Bora Centipede table, and then I have a piece of 1/2-inch thick plywood on top of it that I've made sure, I've even got some shims here, I've made sure it is perfectly level, and of course the plywood is perfectly flat. So you want a flat, level surface, otherwise your epoxy can roll to one side or the other. I'm using this Ease Release 300. This is from Crafted Elements. I will link it in the description. I'm gonna spray this on all the sides of the mold, bottom and sides, and let it sit for about 5 minutes. I'm gonna dust it one more time, and then I'm gonna drop in the black walnut slabs. I'm doing this initial pour with a 1-inch max pour. This is the thick set epoxy. And all this is gonna do is just seal the bottom, and then I'm gonna come back for my final pour with the Fathom thick set epoxy. By the way, if you want to save 5% on any totalboat products, epoxy, mixing cups, anything like that, black diamond pigments, I'll leave a link in the description, and you can save 5% on whatever you order if you use that link. And it also helps support the channel, so I'd really appreciate that, and hopefully it helps you as well. Now it's time for the full epoxy pour. For this epoxy pour, I'm using Thickset Fathom. This is from totalboat. Once again, if you want to save on your totalboat purchase, see the link down in the description. But this is the epoxy that they design for epoxy pours up to 3 inches at a time, which this is gonna be about a 2-inch pour. So this will be plenty. This is the product they recommend for that. And every time I use totalboat epoxies, they work really, really well for me. I also have this 5-quart mixing container, and this has the measurements on the back for whatever type of epoxy you're using. So I'm gonna mix everything up in this, add the dye to this, and then we're gonna do the epoxy pour. Make sure you stir this extremely well. Don't rush this step. I usually mix this until it's no longer cloudy, and you'll kind of see what I'm talking about when you go to mix yours. It'll be kind of cloudy at first when you first pour the hardener in, but as you mix it, it'll clear up, and I don't add my pigment until it's all the way clear. I'm using black diamond pigments for this. This is Caribbean Blue. Once again, you can buy this from Totalboat and save a little bit with the link in the description. All right, this is the biggest epoxy pour I've ever done in my life, and I have no idea how it's about to go. This looks really sweet. I think the color is perfect. There's a little lip here, so I'm gonna mix up a little more epoxy and add one more pour. I'm not gonna go all the way to the top of the slab, but I wanna come within probably about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch below the top of the slab. Y'all, this color, I love it. So good. This pigment can settle, and so I'm gonna come by several times after I pop the bubbles and add this swirl back in. This epoxy is also, the Fathom Thick set is also super slow to dry, so you can probably do this multiple times to make sure you get a look exactly how you want. It's been about 3 or 4 days. This epoxy has cured. I am like 80% happy with the way this turned out. I'll show you right here. There's a line going all the way through the epoxy, which means we probably didn't have something perfectly level. I mean, it's not bad. It's just not the look I really prefer. I came back several times and stirred, and then popped bubbles again, but this line still came out. So you really want to make sure that you can check from time to time, make sure it's curing the way you like it, make sure it looks good. But I mean, it looks awesome. I just, something to watch out for in the future. One more note about pulling this out of the mold. With the Totalboat Fathom epoxy, which is what we used, your demold time is about 72 hours. So what that means is, don't pull it out of the mold if it's been in there for less than 72 hours. Otherwise, it could still move around a little bit, which would be super bad. And so we can pull it out of the mold. It actually will take about 5 to 10 days to cure, but I can take this out of the mold, set it in storage, to kind of clear up some space in my shop. But I'm actually gonna let it sit for a few more days before I do anything else to it, just to make sure it is 100% cured. Working with thick pour epoxy, it takes time, but obviously the results are awesome. This slab is insanely heavy. I mean, I knew it would be pretty heavy, but this is crazy. But it comes out of the Crafted Elements mold super easily. It's just that I'm weak and I didn't have anyone to help me, and so that's why this is taking me a second. I just pulled the tabletop out of this Crafted Elements mold and it is clean. We can rinse this out with soap and water and it is ready for the next epoxy pour. Maybe you've seen people on YouTube build river tables and you think, I can't do that, that's not achievable for me. I'm telling you guys and gals, with a Crafted Elements mold, making an epoxy river table is so much more easy to do now. And so you can do it. I'm telling you guys, these molds are amazing. I'm gonna go ahead and stop this video right here. We have made the rough part of the tabletop and I mean, it looks so cool. It's also insanely heavy. And what I'm going to do in the next video that will be linked in the description once it comes out is show you how to plane this if you don't have a giant 30-inch planer, which I do not. So I'm gonna show you how to use a router sled, how to finish this, installing legs. We're gonna finish up this table in the next video. So check that out if you haven't already. Hey, thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions about something that I maybe didn't cover in this video, let me know. I want to answer those for you. I'm telling you guys, you can do this. This is a super, kind of intermediate level project, but it's super doable. So don't just watch this video and think, man, that's awesome that Ben did that. Give it a try yourself. Let me know how I can help you, because these are a ton of fun to make. Hey, thank you so much for watching this video. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and we'll talk to you next week.